Welcome to the Routes in a Relationship podcast, where we are the sports podcast giving practical relationship advice. We talk sports and help couples reach their ultimate relationship goals. And now your hosts, who are both fired from good government jobs.
Fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Both divorced.
We gonna celebrate what? My divorce. How about that?
And both with 3 kids. Maury Langshaw Sr.
What do you know about love? What do you possibly think you know about love?
And Mia Mignon.
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like,
all right, coming up next, follow-up part 2 of these arguing couples. Now, everybody argues and disagrees.
No,
And
we
that's-
have conversations.
We have conversations
Yes.
with a little bit of emotion and passion,
Yes.
a little bit of raised voices. And we talked about the last episode, the mistakes men make when having arguments. That's not to say that women don't make mistakes as well.
They don't.
See, here we go. Well, I'm here to talk about the mistakes women make in arguments. But first up, we're brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, FixItProtected.com.
Mm-hmm.
What is FixItProtected.com, you ask, Sport Freak?
I do.
If you have less than stellar credit, and that's credit score under 720, there's a simple way for you to get your score higher within the next 60 days. Did you know that? You can actually do that?
No,
You can improve your score within the next 60 days?
That's a lot.
Whether you're looking to buy a new car, a new home, and start a new business, your credit is very important.
Yeah.
Any institution looking to loan you money is going to look at one thing immediately, and that's your credit score. If you want to increase your score by 30 to 90 points over the next 60 days, visit FixItProtected.com. Now, even if you have great credit, Fix It Protected is a great way for you to continue to protect your financial assets that you've worked hard to build and maintain. FixItProtected.com has an array of resources to help you maintain your good personal and business credit. So visit FixItProtected.com to learn more and click the Enroll button today. Let me tell you about yourself, Mia.
I don't make mistakes.
Mistakes women make when arguing. Let me tell you about yourself, lady.
Yeah, I don't make mistakes.
First up, and I actually put a lot of thought into this because I looked at the mistakes men make, and you would agree that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's sister components to each man mistake. Women make the female version of that mistake. For example, number 1, raising your voice in emotion. You all tend to be very accusing and mocking and sarcastic when you start to, get into it when you disagree with your man. You act like the guy would act like in a situation, and you add sarcasm. For example, give you an example. You say, "Why are you in a picture with her? Y'all just friends, huh?" You see how accusing and sarcastic that simple statement is?
No, because she wants confirmation. You all are just
You know,
friends.
so you
Question mark.
justify. Here we go. She's justifying the mistake.
Huh?
Raise a mistake.
Huh?
That
It's the
doesn't.
question mark, but she can't.
That doesn't
That's
help.
the verbal
That
question
does
mark.
again. The accusatory way and the rhetorical, sarcastic question doesn't help in any solution. It may make sense and feel good in the moment, like you're trying to make it now, but it doesn't help into growing, respecting, moving along with your solution in your relationship. Capiche?
I hear you.
Oh, Lord. You're gonna have problems in your relationship, lady, if you don't listen to acknowledge that's a mistake. It doesn't help.
Uh-huh.
Number 2, rhetorical questions.
Okay.
Like I just had, give it a small example of. How could you say that? Who does something like that? Those type of questions, very critical. Doesn't really need a response from the man,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not helping to get to the root of this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So stop asking these rhetorical questions. Third, generalizing complaints. I think we had this one time, but this wasn't a mistake on your part, because you actually did the solution that I'm going to suggest. Because women tend to say things like, we never spend time together. Which, like you and I, we're always around each other. Mm-hmm. So you can't really... men don't respond to something that abstract. So you got to give very specific examples. Like, if you're trying to say that we don't spend time together, like what you did with me, is like, I want to go on a date and take me on a date, an axe-throwing date.
Yes.
Where in normal conversation, a woman would say, we don't spend time together, but she really wants quality time, like date time, just you one-on-one time, spending time with her. And the man's like, my God, we're always together, so how can you say we don't spend time together? Because the abstract, the broadness, the very generalized way he said that, just doesn't register with him. Mm-hmm. So you got to be a little more specific. Like that's still, you're an axe throwing date. Number 4, old issues. Why do the women bring up old issues?
Well, because old issues continue to repeat in their relationship.
Not necessarily. They could, but not necessarily. But bring up old issues in a relationship. When you're saying things like, it's been 6 years and 4 months ago when you spent $1,500 on a TV and we couldn't afford it, and the issue is doing homework. That's what I'm talking about when I say bring up old issues.
No. I thought you were talking about past relationships that keep popping up. That's old issues.
So we talked about that in the first segment, when you said that Brandon Brown or whoever it was a domestic abuser, and then the second time it happened, he was automatically a domestic abuser. Yeah, but you can bring that up because he has a habit of being a domestic abuser. Bringing up old issues in an argument doesn't help anything. Mm-hmm. Because, one, the woman is trying to get to a solution on something old, and the man is confused on why that is even relevant currently, because there's a current issue on the table that's not being addressed because she's bringing up old stuff. So the point of solution, point in all different directions.
Well, maybe because her man doesn't clean up behind himself. He always leaves open-ended stuff that she always has to go back and clean up in a new argument.
Like what? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, maybe she asked him something and he didn't answer it or didn't quite clear it up. So then when they started arguing about why you spent $1,500 on the TV 6 months ago, then she was like, 6 years ago, then she was like, well, you never answered me from when
6 years ago.
From 6 years ago, yeah. So in a new issue, like she needed, because he left it open. He never cleaned it. He never gave her.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, he never gave her. He never gave her an answer.
Well, the problem is bringing it up in the current situation. So why would you bring it up in the current situation? If that's an issue, then bring it up in its own issue and make it current.
Well, because you said they were emotional and they were like, and remember
when? Right. What's the name of this title? What's the title of this? When
women make mistakes.
Right. And here's a clear mistake. And you see how we're going back and forth about it? It's clearly a mistake and no solution has been given. What I'm saying, bring up old stuff is a mistake. And the thing is, as a relationship guy, I understand why you do it. Because all it is really is an attempt to get reassurance that old problems won't be repeated again. I get it. It's a kind of a problem-solving strategy, kind of to eradicate past patterns. I get it. But it's not relevant now. If you want to talk about old issues, bring up the issue in a new era, a new time, where it's Tuesday afternoon, nothing's going on, everybody's good. You say, honey, need to talk about something. If you have time now, or when is a good time. He'll tell you if now's a good time, or when is a good time. You have to respect that. And then you say, you know what, 6 years ago, 4 months, 6 years, 4 months ago, you bought a new TV, and we couldn't afford it. I want to know why you did that. Make it's now a new issue.
And you know what he's going to say? Especially if his name is Maury Langshaw. Are you serious right now? Are you really asking me something about 6 years ago?
Again, mistake number 3 or 4 on men's part. Right, I get it. Even, and see how you laughed that off? Because
Yeah.
you see how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
Bringing up old issues is a non-helpful thing to do. Number 5. This should be common sense. But I don't think women mean to do this, especially if they have daddy issues. And that is comparing him to another man. Usually, sometimes when this happens, it's comparing him to an ex, where the ex was awful at something, and now you comparing him to be awful at the same thing. But even more important than that, comparing him to a father, to your father, or a father. Because the problem is that, how can I say this? I'm going to say most, women tend to want to be treated in a certain way that is very daughter-like, even though it's not helpful. And then when they're talked to as a daughter, they get offended. I'm not your child. Don't talk to me like that. But that's how you're carrying yourself. That's how you're carrying the argument. And what I find when women do that, they tend to have daddy issues when you look at their own lifestyle, how they grew up.
I'm raising my hand here. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is that like the same thing as men that are mama's boys that want to be treated like their mom treats them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly right. Remember I said the parallel at the beginning of this show? I said that how I said the mistakes men make, and if the first one was tone, here we parallel it over the way women make mistakes. The first one I said here is raising your voice with emotion. See how they parallel each other?
I do.
So that's a perfect example. Even though I didn't bring up mama's boy as a mistake for men, women, a lot of women, you can, and look, this is statistically proven, they got daddy issues. Either they didn't grow up with one, or they had a bad relationship with one, and as they grow up, they either tend to be promiscuous or or very clingy. They want somebody, or they want the man to hover them, to smother them, to teach them without being taught.
Shit.
Okay, see?
No.
Okay. We did a show, 4 episodes ago, where you're like, what can I learn from you? And you were all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to teach you to be I'm not going to teach you how to wash my feet. But it has to be something of substance. I get it. But either way, you want to grow with your man. He has to be able to teach you stuff. That was an old episode. But here, we're just talking about comparing him to another man. Don't compare him to your father. Don't compare him to your ex.
No, please don't do that.
Right. Next, this is a tough one for women. This is really tough. And that is expecting him to make you feel good. At the end of an argument where he's, for lack of a better word, fed up and wants to get it over with and starts to be dismissive, and he wants us to move on. What's the solution here? Well, I'm not going to keep on going back and forth with you. And that's the attitude. Women don't like that. So they, in turn, make the mistake, which is a mistake on men's part, by the way, which we talked about last episode. The mistake women make is, well, that sure doesn't help. She expects him to make her feel good at this point.
Say, I'm sorry, nigga.
See?
That'll make her feel better. Not what the hell is the solution? The solution is, I'm sorry, and I won't do it again. And maybe she'll shut the fuck up like you want her to. How about that?
Again. Following this show, she's going to be on my couch because she tends to make these mistakes and she likes to justify them. I'm not sure she's being humorous. She's
Say, I'm
be
sorry.
Funny.
Say, I'm sorry.
How are you going to tell the man to say he's sorry? What if he's not sorry? What if it's your fault? You're going back and forth about something that's your fault. He's trying to help you understand how it's your fault.
All of the old men that say that they're happily married say I'm sorry even when it's not your fault. Just say I'm sorry so she can shut up.
That's at a certain age. At a certain age. We're talking about new relationships. You're into relationships. You haven't grown to that. It's not that important to me stage. Those are septuagenarian stages where you're like, you know what? I'm sorry. But the problem is that rarely works when you just say I'm sorry because it's not sincere. The older the woman gets, the man can say, you know what? I'm sorry. And she's like, well, thank you. And nothing is sincere about that whole transaction.
What she says?
Well, thank you.
Look at your face.
No, well, thank you.
She does. I can see some older women saying that, yes.
Right, and they just move on. They're 50, 55. He says, you know, babe, I'm sorry. And she's like, well, thank you. And they just move on. Nothing's sincere about it. He just wanted her to shut the fuck up, and all she wanted to hear was, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That works for them.
Yes.
For a 30-year-old in a new relationship, or 40-year-old in a new relationship, good luck.
She has to learn somehow.
Again, don't make the mistake. Right, I'm telling you right now, don't make the mistake. So it's not his job to make you feel good. Mm-hmm. It's your job to make you feel good. That's your responsibility. Instead of saying, well, that doesn't help, or, you know, that doesn't make me feel good, or whatever, or if you go down that road, just say, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. Or, you know what, what made me feel good? I'm going to go shopping. With you, okay, fine.
Yes.
You take responsibility for making yourself feel good after an argument. Don't expect him to do it. And lastly, but not leastly, this is the number one thing. I should have done this first. Is controlling the conversation. Since we all know women can talk emotionally, and they keep going, and going, and going, and going, and going, even about doing the same mistakes that I just mentioned. They just keep on going. They just keep on talking. You want to keep on controlling the conversation, and the problem is no man is going to even begin to offer a solution unless he can be heard as well. His side of the story, his perspective needs to be heard as well. So you can't control the narrative, you can't control the conversation, you can't control what issue, the way you see the issue, your perspective of it, and that be it. No solution will be granted, no solution will be had if you keep on making that mistake. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are the mistakes women make in arguments. At the end of the day, and this is the takeaway for both men and women, when you get into these heated discussions or debates or arguments, one is to just listen, and second, understand. Listening and understanding in an argument from both sides will carry you a long way. That's all I have before the joke of the day.
Since you said the joke of the day?
Joke of the day! Joke of the day. What's this thing that little, I want a little, what's it called? Bit? No. Segue? What's the thing called in radio where you have the intro for the next bit? What's that called?
Jingle.
The jingle? Joke of the day. I'm going to make this one simple. I'm going to get a lot of chuckles on this one. I just want chuckles. This is not funny. It's not funny. This is a chuckle.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
Use this one at the water cooler, passing by, to your boy. Don't say it to another female coworker. So guy goes up to the girl and says, so, sex at my place? She says, yeah. Okay, but, I sleep in a bunk bed with my younger brother, and he thinks we're making sandwiches. So we have to have a code. When I say cheese, that means go faster. And when I say tomato, that means go harder. Okay? So the little girl's yelling, cheese, 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 tomato, tomato, tomato. The younger brother at the bottom says, stop making sandwiches, you're getting mayo all over my bed.
And that, folks, takes us right on out of here.
Peace.